So that's a wonderful story of transformation, simply by associating with a saintly person. Mrgari would have lived his whole life as a hunter, getting his pleasure from seeing animals suffer, dealing in animal skins and living that dark life. So from that, to the great saint that he became, the great Vaishnava that people were coming from far and wide just to take darshana, it's called, or just to see him and offer a gift, and therefore automatically receiving his blessings, is amazing. So anyway, I like that story. One reason is because I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing because it's not a thing to be proud of by any means. But I was a Mrgari. I was a hunter. I know that story.
Hey there, welcome back to the Breaking Trail podcast. My name is Ruben, and our podcast is where you learn to navigate life's journey through ancient wisdom. And today, my friend and teacher Balakhilya will share a very inspiring story that is close to his heart about the hunter who became a great spiritual sage. Welcome.
Tesla's got this autopilot feature on their cars.
Mm-hmm.
And they've had quite a few accidents, people doing that, And they just had an accident, killed 2 people. And one person was sitting in the passenger seat and the other one was in the back seat. Nobody was behind the wheel.
What?
And the car crashed and killed both of them.
Oh.
And another guy posted a video, young guy, and he's going down the road in his Tesla autopilot, and he's in the back seat with a pillow and a blanket wrapped up in the back seat, and the car's just driving down the highway.
Jeez.
Yeah. And one Tesla came up to a railroad crossing, and the bar was down, and it just went right through the bar into the train.
Oh my God.
These auto trip things, it's like people are so weird they'd even trust that with your life. Can you imagine? That's your life. You get in the back seat and lay down.
Just like
if you're going down the freeway at 80 miles an hour or whatever it is.
Wow. But I guess you not value your life that much, perhaps. I don't know. What, or is it the thrill?
I don't know what it is, man. He posted it on social media, so it was probably, just to show people, look at me,
Yeah, I'm so cool.
But those other 2 people are dead now. They're never going to know how many likes they got.
But the likes keep, gathering. Like, even though that you're dead, your social profile is still there. So likes keep.
I don't know. The whole world is crazy, man.
So anyway, I came to this idea. Like, to me, these stories are really, really inspiring from the Vedas. And I was thinking maybe we could share some story from the Vedas. And I was especially thinking about this hunter and the sage story because you have also been a hunter yourself. So that's kind of telling in a sense for your life.
That's a pretty easy one. Like, it's not so hard. You know what I mean? On people. It's so difficult.
Well, that's,
it's a good one, and it supports a lot of things that we've already talked about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't kill, vegetarianism, and chanting mantras, and all kinds of things are incorporated in that story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So. So where does it start?
So it starts when I changed my headphones, just to relax you guys a little bit.
So now it's the official starting of the podcast.
How's that? Is that better?
That's a bit better. That's different.
It's different. I don't know if it's better or not, but it's different.
Oh.
Yeah.
Normal.
So So the Vedas are filled with stories. Srimad Bhagavatam, is a wonderful work of art, really. It's called the ripened fruit of the Vedas. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's so much ancient history, which in many, many, many cases are stories, but stories that have a meaning, that make a point, that are philosophically ripe, with truth. And so we read this a lot, Srimad Bhagavatam. Here at our Chintamani studio, we're reading it every night, just a short session every night at the end of the day. And you gain so much from it, And so one story that's actually from the from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is another Vedic scripture, And this was written by a great devotee of the Lord, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And it's about the life and teachings of Lord Chaitanya, or Lord Gauranga. We chant many times Gauranga in our meditations, And so Lord Gauranga is the most recent incarnation of the Lord to appear on planet Earth 500 years ago. And he came specifically in this time period we live in right now to give us guidance now, right now, what we need to know in this time period when things are as they are, chaos, quarrel, confusion, discord, disagreements everywhere, and so on. So we need some knowledge here. We need some light shined on this period of time to know what to do with our lives. So anyway, Chaitanya Charitamrita is about the life and teachings of Lord Gauranga, Lord Chaitanya, when he was here on the planet. So Lord Chaitanya told this story, and the story is about a hunter, and his name was Mrgari. And so one day, there's another personality I must introduce, and this is Narada Muni. And Narada Muni is well known in ancient Vedic history. And he has abilities that certainly we don't have. Now, a lot of people, they will think, a lot of these things that are in these books, they're just, fantasies. Nobody could do that. Nobody could achieve that. That's impossible. Because we're, again, judging what is possible or not possible on what we know today with our limited abilities. But, we're at the lowest stage of development, of mankind. And, basically we're, very restricted in Kali Yuga of what we can do, what we can understand, and so on. But that doesn't mean everybody's like that, and all time periods are like that. So, in the yoga system, if anybody studied the yoga system, a person, very advanced in yoga can develop certain abilities that, again, seem like fantasy. Nobody could do those things.
Kind of like you hear about levitating or these things, or...
Yeah, I mean, that's the, very basic version of the idea. People say, nobody can levitate, but they can, It's just a certain way to control material energy and so on. But anyway, Narada Muni, he didn't gain his abilities, by practicing pranayama and controlling this. He was gifted this, from the Supreme Lord. And so he has been gifted with the ability to travel anywhere he wants at will, at the speed of the mind, both within the material world and the spiritual world. See, man is struggling to go to another planet with, big iron or alloy rocket ships and, whatever, the mechanical blast off to go to the moon or go wherever and send some little helicopter up there to fly around and look and take pictures and send them back, you know. But that's just like Mickey Mouse compared to to what, you know, Narada Muni and other, you know, personalities can do. Now, anyway, he can travel both in the material world and the spiritual world. It's up to him. Where does he want to go? So one time, Narada Muni had been to the spiritual world, and he had been visiting Lord Narayan. And after his visit, he returned to the material world, planet Earth, and he was on his way to a place, it's in India, you know, where the three rivers, the Muna, Ganges, and Saraswati, come together, a confluence of the three rivers. Yeah. These are all holy rivers, sacred rivers. And it's known as the Triveni, or the three rivers that come together. And people go there still today. I'm sure right now it's a lot of people there. Taking bath is a very sacred place to bathe, you know, to, you know, get purified of karma and so on. So anyway, he was going there to bathe, and he's going through the forest, and on a forest path, and he came upon a deer that was shot with an arrow, but it wasn't dead. It was half killed, and its legs were broken, and it was thrashing and suffering greatly. And he thought, wow, that's not good. It's very unusual. He goes a little further on the path, and he sees a boar in the same condition, shot through with an arrow, half killed, broken legs, withering in pain, suffering. He goes further, and he sees a rabbit in the same situation, you know. And he's going, who is doing this? What is going on? So he goes further, and he sees a hunter that's off the path up in the forest a little ways, hiding behind a tree. And in the meadow, you know, there's some deer, and he's hiding behind the tree looking at the deer that he's getting ready to shoot. And he was a pretty rough-looking character. You know, it describes that he was, you know, dressed in animal skins, and his eyes were red, and, you know, he just had, you know, a certain, you know, basically not nice look, to put it mildly, you know, like death personified. And so Narada Muni walked up behind the hunter, and when the animals that the hunter had been stalking saw Narada Muni, they all ran away. And the hunter, what happened? And he turned around, and he saw Narada Muni. And he was going to really chastise him with strong language. But he could understand that this is a great saint. And no foul language, no chastisement would come from his mouth. He couldn't utter a word. And so he's just standing there. And then he, you know, pays his respects. And he said, who are you? And I said, oh, saintly person, who are you? And he said, I'm Narada Muni. And he said, oh, and why are you here off the path? He said, well, I'm coming to you because along the way, I saw the deer, I saw the boar, I saw the rabbit, you know, half killed, thrashing, suffering greatly. And I'm wondering if you're the person who did it. And he said, yes, my name is Mrgari, who gives suffering to others. And he says, I am certainly the one who did this. And he said, I learned this from my father. I've been doing this my whole life. And Narada Muni said, but why do you have killed these animals? You know, if you're going to kill them, why do you have to? He said, because I derive great pleasure from seeing them suffer. See? Can you imagine the heart of such a person who it's one thing to kill the animal, but it's the other to get the pleasure of watching the animal suffer, you know. And so so Narada Muni asked him, well, you know, I have one thing to beg of you. And Mrgari said, oh, you can ask from me anything you want. You want some animals? You want some skins? I can give you, you know, deer skins, tiger skins. I have many at my house. You can have as much as you want.
I guess that's
Narada
not what Narada Muni wanted.
Narada Muni said, no, thank you. I'm not, you know, going to ask for skins. I want to ask you, when you kill the animals, when you shoot the animals, to kill them outright and don't half kill them and leave them there to suffer. And Mrgari said, why? Why do it like that? And Narada Muni told him, because, you know, your profession is a hunter. And that's not the greatest offense. It's an offense, but it's not the great offense. But when you have killed them and they suffer, and you're finding that pleasurable, that is a great offense. And you're going to have to suffer greatly as a result of this. And so I want you to know that in your next life and in many future lives, all these animals that you've killed are going to kill you one by one. And Mrgari thought, man, I've been doing this my whole life, you know. And so he said, and he understood. I mean, he just had the understanding, this is true. You know, Narada Muni is telling me, you know, something that's true. And he changed his attitude completely. And he said, please, can you help me? Can you know, I've been doing this my whole life. Can you help me get relieved of all of this suffering? You know. And Narada Muni said, yes, I can help you, you know, but you have to do exactly what I say. And the hunter said, yes, I will do it, please. And he said, okay, the first thing you must do is break your bow. And he said, break my bow? My bow? This is my livelihood. How am I going to survive if I break my bow? Narada Muni said, don't worry. I will take care of all the necessities you need. You must break your bow. And so the hunter broke his bow. And he said, all right, now I want you to go home and tell your wife that you are leaving. You've got to take all your possessions that you have, give them all to the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are the priestly class in the Vedic society. Give all your possessions to the Brahmanas that you see are the highly qualified Brahmanas. And then I want you to go to the river, and the only possessions you will take are your clothes. I want you to build a small hut on the river. I want you to plant a tulsi plant on a raised platform in front of your house. Something's frozen. Ruben, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but you froze in the middle of...
Okay, you're back. You were frozen.
Yeah, I'm sorry for freezing.
I don't know. I don't know if it was our end or yours.
Yeah.
So where did you hear to?
Built a cottage by the river.
Yeah. So build a cottage by the river. Plant a tulsi plant in front of the cottage on a raised platform. And every day you worship the tulsi plant. You water the tulsi plant and offer other things.
Can you tell what's special about tulsi for those who don't?
I was just getting ready to do that. Yeah, so the tulsi plant is not just an ordinary plant. Biologically, it's in the basil family. So in India it's known as the holy basil. But actually, Tulsi is a great devotee of the Supreme Lord in that body of a plant. And because of her devotion to the Lord, she always wants to be at the feet of the Lord. So the Tulsi plant produces little flowers, and not really flowers, like a Mrgari they're called. But it is the flower of, like if you've seen a basil plant, they have a very similar thing. Basil plant, maybe you guys call it basil.
I don't know if I've seen the flowers of a basil plant, but
anyway, yeah, most of the time you just get them in the store and you don't
exactly.
get that. But
exactly.
The point is, those Mrgaris, and this is where the seeds of the Tulsi plant are contained, and from those Mrgaris, other Tulsi plants come and so on. So you take that Mrgari with two leaves. It grows with a little leaf on both sides, and those Mrgaris are to be offered to the Supreme Lord on the altar at his feet. Only to the Supreme Lord, only, not others. So that's the Tulsi plant, and there's a system of worship of the Tulsi plant. Great devotees are to be worshipped, and Tulsi is to be worshipped. This is one of the processes of bhakti yoga, And so you water the plant. There's mantras that are, chanted, for watering the Tulsi, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a bona fide system of worship. It's not some, pagan worship or whatever. So anyway, Narada Muni told Mrgari to do that. And another thing about the Tulsi is she doesn't stay in that plant body very long, really, just a short number of years. And then she leaves that body. So after she leaves the body, then the wood of the Tulsi plant, which is still sacred, is used to make beads, like our meditation beads that we chant on, are the highest level of wood to be used for the Tulsi beads, or for the beads is Tulsi. So Tulsi beads, and we use them around our neck. See, I have, some Tulsi here around, as neck beads and so on. And, it's declared in Scripture, and we don't doubt this at all, that this protects you, from, the Yamadutas, or the agents of Lord Yamaraj, the Lord of Death. Anyway, it's protection at the time of death. If you're wearing Tulsi, if your body's cremated with Tulsi on, that's a whole nother thing than if you just, die and get cremated or whatever. There's a whole science that if you know it, and it's simple stuff, but it's very, very important and very profound. So anyway, that's a little discourse on Tulsi. There's much, much more. So anyway, Mrgari, agreed. Okay. So he goes home, tells his wife, okay, we're giving everything away, and we're going to the river. No prior warning, no asking permission. This is what we're doing. Because in that day and age, not as it is today, the wife was very devoted to the husband, and she accepted the husband as her authority and guide, So when he said that, okay. So it was done. They go to the bank of the river, they build the cottage, they plant the Tulsi, and they regularly, worship the Tulsi as prescribed, just as Narada Muni said. Very quickly, word spread all around that Mrgari, the hunter, had become a great saintly Vaishnava. And people couldn't believe it. It was a complete transformation.
Yeah. And
so, it's customary, at that time, in India, and now today as well, that people would go to visit saintly persons because they understood this is very, very, purifying, very special. And to go to a saintly person and pay respects and take a gift, is, that's what is done. So people started coming to see Mrgari. And everybody that came, as I say, is etiquette, spiritual etiquette. They brought a gift. So, from almost the very beginning, there was more food than Mrgari and his wife could ever eat. So they would only keep as much as was necessary for the two of them for that day. And they give all the others away. And so this went on, and more people were coming, and more people were coming. And one day, Narada Muni was traveling with his constant companion, or very often companion, dear friend, Parvati Muni. And he's another eternal spaceman that can travel in space, And so they were in the area, and Narada Muni said to Parvati Muni, I would like to go by and visit, Mrgari and see how he's doing. And so they go to visit him. And he saw them coming from quite a distance, and he went, oh, Narada Muni is coming with another great saint. And so he got up to go greet him. But he ran, but he couldn't run just straight. He's moving around like this. And when he came to Narada Muni, he wanted to pay his obeisances. He wanted to bow down to him. But he couldn't bow down immediately because there was all these ants running around on the ground. And he didn't want to bow down on top of the ants. So he whisked the ants away, very gently, and then bowed down. And Narada Muni was very, very pleased with his conduct. And so, Mrgari stood up, invited them to come to his hut, and he came, and he and his wife took care of them again, according to spiritual etiquette. They gave him the best place to sit that they could, and make them as comfortable as possible, gave them water to drink, and he and his wife, Mrgari and his wife, washed their feet, and then put the water on their head and drank the water. This is all spiritual etiquette. This is not made up. Somebody just decided to do this. This is how you treat a great saintly person. And so, Narada Muni was, like I say, was very pleased. And so, after a short while, they were getting ready to leave, and he said, is there anything that you would like to request from me? And Mrgari said, yes. Can you please arrange it so that people don't bring so much food? I have too much, So that's a wonderful story of transformation, simply by associating with a saintly person. Mrgari would have lived his whole life as a hunter, getting his pleasure from seeing animals suffer, dealing in animal skins and living that dark life. I mean, there's a picture in the Chaitanya Charitamrita of Mrgari, how he looked. And, we've all seen people who just looked dark. There was no, it describes his eyes were red, he's dressed in deer skins, his body is not clean, and so from that, to the great saint that he became, the great Vaishnava that people were coming from far and wide just to take darshana, it's called, or just to see him and offer a gift, and therefore automatically receiving his blessings, is amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not amazing if we understand the transcendental, inconceivable potency of associating with a true saint, a true, pure lover of God. It changes the heart. this was a change of heart that took place. This was a
Exactly.
purification of the heart. Being envious of the animals. I mean, you wouldn't think, well, he wasn't envious of animals, but that's envy. That's wanting to enjoy their life by killing it. I want to enjoy you by killing you. That's all envy. And so from such a hard-hearted, no compassion whatsoever condition to the most soft-hearted that he won't even bow down before his spiritual master, Narada Muni, until he's got all the ants out of the way.
Wow.
I mean, that's like, how much of a transformation is that? It's like unbelievable. And so this is what the idea is. You associate with saintly people, you become a saint. And his association was on the level of he accepted his instructions. He asked him to help him. See, he went to him, can you please help me? I'm going to suffer unlimited lifetimes because I've killed like this since birth, basically, my whole life. And so he's asking for help. And of course, Narada Muni, compassion and love personified, gave him the solution, and he accepted it and followed it. See, that's the association, that made the whole thing complete.
So his motivation from the start was, I mean, he didn't have a pure interests to start with. Like, it was for his own sake. Do I understand it right? Like, he didn't want the suffering in his future lives of the karma that he would get back from killing those animals.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
self-motivated for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that it says in Bhagavad Gita, there's 4, categories of pious men who come to me. Those who are in distress, those who are in need of money, the inquisitive, and those who are in search of actual knowledge. See, the wise. But all are self-motivated,
Yeah.
They have their agenda. Help me in my distress. I need money. Can you help me there? I'm inquisitive. I just want you to entertain my mind. And then, can you give me some knowledge? But it's still, I'm the reason,
Right.
for this.
Right.
But out of that comes purification, and out of that purification comes selfless service.
But it all starts with that. I mean, that's wonderful.
I mean, we're all so selfish that we can't, be non-selfish if we are selfish. It's not like,
and then
you can't be somebody you're not. And nobody is asking anybody to be somebody that they're not. Just take who you are, how you are, and, if you're interested in this, progression that'll make your life a whole lot better, then there's the opportunity. And
then,
so, how long it takes for us to be selfless, that's an individual thing. But, it can take a long time because we are very selfish. But it's purification of the selfish motive, from killing animals to save me from my karma is a pretty big leap.
Exactly. Yeah.
And another part of the formula was you got to break your bow. You can't continue to kill these animals. You can't just, ask me to get rid of your past karma and continue to kill animals. That's not part of the deal,
It's kind of like
You got to change your profession here,
Like going to church and confessing, and then, during the week doing all the stuff that you do again, like living your normal life and then go to confess. And
yeah. Just take a bath on Saturday or Sunday, whatever the date of confession is, and, get dirty all week.
But I guess
back next week and take another bath.
I guess most people just don't do that even at all. So
well, no, they don't do that. But if you did, it still doesn't change the heart. That's why the Bhakti Yoga process is a different process, because it purifies the heart. And that's the problem. That's the root of the problem. Envy and jealousy is the actual root of the problem. I'm envious. We're basically envious of God. I mean, we might be envious of, the guy who's got money and I don't, or, the girl who's envious of the other girls because they're more beautiful and more popular and whatever. I mean, that's just, reflections of the original envy. We're envious of God because God's number one and I want to be number one.
Exactly. And he's in full control and I'm not. Like, I see that.
He's the master and I'm not, but I want to be.
Yeah.
So that's, we hear sometimes about the original sin. You may have heard that.
Right. Adam and Eve.
There was an original sin, and now we're all suffering because of that mistake that Adam and Eve made, or whatever, or Adam made, and But the original sin really is our envy of God. That's where it all starts.
Well, that's, I mean, and there's a nice analogy like that story, because when I was 15, I studied Christianity a lot. I sort of followed that religion for considerable time, but that story now makes sense to me. I mean, wasn't Adam trying to be the enjoyer when he took the apple? Wasn't that the idea? Like, he took the apple and he wanted to be the enjoyer. Yeah.
And God said, "Don't eat that fruit. That's the fruit of the forbidden tree." But then the snake came along.
Yeah.
Remember the story?
Sort of like the,
Eve, this is really tasty, man. You should try this, And then she did, and then she convinced Adam.
Right, that's how it was. Yeah.
And it's interesting that the snake is part of that that analogy or story or whatever you want to call it. Is because in the Vedas, again, it says that a snake and a scorpion are so envious. I mean, if you know snakes a little bit, probably. All of us have had some encounters with snakes.
Yeah.
If you've had encounters with them in the wild, they're not nice guys. I mean, they are all right, but, they just got a vibe about them, man. It's just like a snaky vibe.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Get in there. They're not cuddly. They're not, I mean, some people have, pet boa constrictors and, they think they're great. I remember I lived in Los Angeles for about 10 years, into the 70s and into the 80s. And there was a girl I knew. She was the girlfriend of a guy I knew. And she was very attractive, tall, blonde, I mean, California babe, but she had this boa constrictor, and that was like her constant companion. We used to work markets together, and she'd be there, and her, what was his name? Bill? No, Don, I think. He'd be selling, his products, and she'd be walking around with this snake, and we were friends. She'd come over and talk, and here's this snake, tongue going, sticking out. And I never could get it. Like, why do you like the snake? They're cold. I mean, they're not even warm. Like a kitten or, a dog or something. They're nice and warm, and they got hair and
fuzzy and
cuddly. But this snake, man, I guess it's because they give good hugs, Just good
squeezing
hug.
you.
Oh, But anyway, that's kind of a side thing. But in the Vedas, it said that snakes are, and it includes scorpions in this category, are so envious that there's no karma incurred from killing them. There's no karma for killing a snake. Now, it doesn't mean you got to go out and hunt down all the snakes and kill them. It says you got to kill snakes. But if necessary and you kill a snake, there's no karma involved. Because you free that soul from that envious body, and then they can go on and take another higher birth. It's not so much.
Wow.
So anyway, in the story of Adam and Eve, there was the snake, the envious snake that came along and she ate the apple, and Adam ate the apple, and then here we are. That's the story. But really, the idea is we're all envious of God. You see, and so envy is really the problem. So to root out that envy, one must have a transformation of heart. You can't have a soft heart and be envious, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're envious of somebody and they walk in the room, do you have a warm feeling for them? No. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Wow. Great. Thanks for coming. No, it's like, oh my God, why are you here?
Yeah.
I wish you didn't come. It's just like that uncomfortable feeling of their presence, And so, it's not a good thing. So the heart has to be purified, But we have to have a way to do that. So Mrgari's heart was purified by his association with Narada Muni. His acceptance of the instructions of Narada Muni, following them as prescribed, and he became a great saint himself. You associate with rogues, you become a rogue. You associate with saints, you become a saint. But I've seen it personally, a rogue who associates with a saint but doesn't accept the saint as a saint. He's just in the physical proximity somehow. He doesn't get that same benefit. You got to accept them. You got to, be guided by them.
Because and that's the quality that matters. I mean, for Mrgari, his simpleness, like he didn't just get stuck in his old ways, and he just, okay, like, you have a better argument, and he was like, okay, then I listen to you. Like, this makes sense. And
in that time period, which we don't experience now, saints were respected even by people like Mrgari.
Yeah.
That's why he couldn't curse him. He couldn't chastise him when he ran all the animals away.
Oh, okay.
If it had been anybody else, just somebody else came up, he would have just laid into him. You can imagine. But no words would come from his mouth of criticism. He couldn't do it. That's another culture completely too. Now, we don't have respect for anybody, saints or otherwise.
No.
So all of this is a sign of hard-heartedness, degradation, increasing envy and jealousy and hate and anger and lust and greed. And, when that predominates, then you lose the good qualities. They cover the good qualities. And people suffer as a result of that. It's not like people are winning. Nobody's winning here. Everybody's losing. But who's willing to accept this? Yeah. So anyway, I like that story. One reason is because I'm laughing, but I'm not laughing because it's not a thing to be proud of by any means. But I was a Mrgari. I was a hunter. I know that story because I grew up hunting, from early on. I was fishing, fishing's hunting, in the water. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's not like hunting and fishing. It's like hunting in the water, out of the water. But anyway, I fished from very early on, and had no problem, taking the hook out of the fish's mouth and throwing him up on the bank and, watching him slowly die, gasping and flopping. And, the worms, we often fish with worms and digging the worms out of the ground and threading him, we call it, threading the worm on the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rough stuff if you think about it. But you don't think about it. I mean, that's just what I did. And it was like, I didn't feel like, oh, this is bad. And, sometimes some girls or something would be a little squeamish.
Exactly.
And you kind of make fun of them.
I was just going to say that's the reaction that you have. You're made fun of if you...
look at that little sissy, or look at the...
Exactly.
And then, from 10 years old, I was given a shotgun. It was an old shotgun my grandfather had, just in the house. I lived in this big house with my parents and my grandmother and grandfather. And anyway, at 10 years old, I just started going out with this gun, 12-gauge shotgun.
That's a different culture as well than Norway, I think.
Then I became, that hunter that was shooting the squirrels and the rabbits and, the game birds, they call them, dove and quail and, whatever. Wow. And so anyway, I went right on up from 10 years old till I went to Hawaii. Actually, I moved to Hawaii in 1967. I was 24. And over there, I actually had my father send my gun over. I had a different gun by now, upgraded a lot. But we would hunt doves over there. There's a lot of doves in the cane fields. And we would go dove hunting. And then, I just kind of got, into a different mindset. I started doing yoga, like I, said many times before. And, I just kind of realized this is not cool, man. This is not the thing to do. So, I sold my gun and I just never I didn't have any interest in doing that. I just moved out of that dimension completely.
But how is it one can do that, like, for so long without even, like, what makes it so that you don't think about it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't bother you to kill these animals. It doesn't touch you. Like, you can do that for 15, 14 years. Like, no.
Well, who knows, I can't explain it other than that it was a sport. It was a sport. You just got pleasure from seeing, it was I was thinking about that this morning, actually, interestingly enough, because where I walk in the mornings to do my japa meditation, there's a lot of pheasants. It's a big wooded area. There's a lot of pheasants, and, they're all out and having their mating calls, and, there's the males and the females, and, you see them, and one flew right over my head. We got a couple of dogs that just moved in, and so they were love to go out there and just run around and chase the pheasants, but they never catch them or anything. They just have fun making them fly. So anyway, one flew right over my head, and I was thinking, in the old days, I would have probably had a gun, and I would have, tried to shoot that guy. Because a pheasant is a high-level game bird in the minds of, a game hunter, and, but then for a long time, after I stopped, I would still have that thought in my mind, but now I would shoot him with the holy name, Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. So, different weapon, and you never miss. See, when you got the gun, sometimes you don't you miss, sometimes you don't, So, yeah, I don't know, and you come home at the end of the day and you got your trophies. Oh, look how many squirrels I got today, or how many ducks we got. The old pictures of me and my friends with a whole bunch of ducks that we got, that day. I say got rather than killed, because I don't even like to say that word, but... it was like a good day for us, not a good day for the ducks or the squirrels or whoever, But they didn't count, They were just ducks or squirrels or whatever, and you just... So it was a hard heart, man. It was just a demoniac consciousness, really. Demoniac consciousness,
Wow.
But it just proves that things can change,
Exactly.
That's definitely a possibility to change all that and see things in a different way. The heart's different. It's not that, demoniac hard. I don't care about that squirrel or that duck or that rabbit or whatever. My pleasure is shooting that guy. And, I felt good. Oh, I got him. Aha, I got him, And, I don't know. It's the way it is. But I'm so thankful that along the way, things did change. And, now, of course, we're vegetarians for many, many years and don't eat anything like that and don't
hunt it either, or
don't hunt anything. And, interesting story, another story. And Neil and Bella, my friends.
Yeah.
So we were mountain biking in Colorado, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, probably. It was after the Rainbow Gathering, the wilderness retreat.
Yeah.
So anyway, we were there mountain biking, and we'd been riding this trail, down this mountain, long ride, and we were just ending the ride on a dirt road, going down the dirt road. And here comes a truck, a big truck, American truck, up the road, and I saw a snake come out of the side of the road on the right side and started across the road. And here comes the truck. And I just went, oh, man, I hope that truck doesn't hit that snake. But sure enough, it was just timed perfectly.
Oh.
The truck didn't try to hit the snake. I mean, he didn't try to stop either.
Yeah.
But he just came by. I don't even know if he even saw him.
Yeah.
And ran right over the snake, And I was just watching this whole scenario. So, I rode up to the snake, and so Neil and Bella there, when we go up, and here's this snake, and it's, broken back, and it's all kinds of things, and it's withering around and in pain like crazy.
Oh.
And so we just chanted to that snake, That snake left his body chanting. Now, someone might say, well, why didn't you just kill the snake and put him out of his misery? You see? But it's not my position to take that position. That snake has its karma. This is nature's arrangement, this whole thing. The best thing I can do for that snake, or the soul in the snake body, is to chant that snake. So when that snake leaves his body, I think it took like 10 minutes or something, it'll have left hearing the holy names. That's the best thing that could have happened.
Wow.
To that snake in its entire lifetime. Can you imagine, in the middle of the mountains in Colorado, out of nowhere, getting run over by a truck and leaving the body hearing the holy names?
Wow.
That's like special. And so,
wow.
that's how we understood it, with this understanding we have. And that's what we did. And it was, we all felt good about it. We didn't feel good about watching the story unfold, because it was not pleasant by any means. But we felt good that we could be there and offer that help to that soul in that body.
On his continued journey.
So it will definitely take a very, very high birth. Who's to say exactly where that soul went, after that. So with this kind of knowledge that you have, you can react in many, many different situations based on this knowledge, rather than just, some sentiment or compassion, or, a lot of people driving the truck would aim for the snake and try to put the brakes on as they go over top and make sure they, kill that guy. So
that's funny, but I have actually a really similar story. We went to a meditation retreat outside Trondheim and like at the very end, there's like this really small road, because where the retreat place is just really the end of the road, a small gravel road. And as we were passing this gravel road, we were going slow, but I didn't have time to stop or anything, but I saw something slithering up the road. And I hit him, I ran him over. I didn't have time to stop. And so, I I was like, did we run over a snake or what was that? Because I wasn't sure whether it was a stick or something, but I thought there was something. So we kind of looked in the rear mirror and it's like, wow, so it was a snake, So we stopped and I walked back and he was, so at first he was exactly like you say, like in pain, trying to get away from us. We were chanting to him, but then, so for some reason I had some holy water with me. So I approached him, and when I was, because I was like, man, how am I gonna do this? Like I'm gonna try to put this on him, But he's like withering all around, like how am I? But as I came closer and I had that idea, like he stopped immediately and was completely still, no movement. It's just like waiting for me to. So I took this holy water, I sprinkled it on his head. He was completely still, and I walked away, and then he. I can't remember, but I think he actually withered into the forest again. Yeah, he did. So it was like, wow.
Yeah, another lucky snake.
It's very, very, very lucky and very helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, this knowledge, the idea is a person who has this knowledge can help so many people just on their journey through life. We all are on a journey through life. And if we have this knowledge, we can help a lot of people on that journey. You see? And if we don't have this knowledge, we can do a lot of damage. We can do a lot of harm to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what we do in our life affects the lives of so many other people. No question about it. Whether we intend to or not. And so, yeah, every day we do a lot of harm to a lot of entities, just by walking or just by eating or just by breathing or, whatever. I mean, you can't avoid it. That's just the world we live in. And so in the Vedic system, a person who wasn't engaged in devotional service, but just trying to go through life in a pious way without creating additional karma and so on, they had, certain sacrifices or rituals that they performed on a regular basis to actually counteract the suffering that they cause to other people, every day. Yeah. So that's how they started their day, with a, ceremony, And, but when one is, trying to live their life in devotional service to God and, chanting the mantras and following this bhakti yoga path, then those sacrifices and whatever that I just referred to are included in that. It's like you don't have to do something separate. This is included in that. But it's still the same point that we commit so many errors, or just unknowingly cause a lot of difficulties to other people. And then when we just consciously cause difficulty to other people, I mean, we really,
that's another story.
That's another whole level again. Like Mrgari, like Narada Muni said, well, you're a hunter by profession. So your killing animals is not that great an offense. But when you consciously make them suffer, that's completely on another level. And you're going to suffer a lot for that. So, yeah, we have to become educated in life.
And I'm just taking this gist out of the story. Like there's a hope for me as well. Like wherever we are, however, wherever we are in our life, like we don't have to get pure first and then do this. We're here now. I mean, anyone who's listening to this, you are lucky enough to have access to hearing this knowledge, making that choice if you want to.
Yes. And, like you said, and I said many times, you don't have to, just drop everything you're doing and change everything. You just add things to your life. Like I didn't drop everything. I just came to a point where, I don't want to do this anymore. I understood this is wrong. Before it was right. It was like nobody even questioned it. And it was done in the community of friends I had. I mean, I wasn't the only guy doing that. It was me and my friends, and this is what we did, and nobody thought, "Oh, you guys are bad guys."
No.
Like that's just normal. And then along the way, you come to realize, no, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on that are not good. Like you don't have to follow what's seen as normal or good in society as your guideline. I mean, you started speaking about, we have the Vedas. This is absolute guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do we want that guidance is the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. For sure.
The negative, response to the Vedas is don't tell me what to do. Who are you, or who are these books, or who are these masters, or whatever to tell me what I can do and can't do. But the laws of nature tell us what we can and can't do. Okay, you're going to die now. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. It's time to go. And you go. No, can't overcome that. So we're controlled regardless. But, we're so covered that we can't even understand we're controlled. We think other people are, you're trying to control me, or this group of people, or, this political system, or this society, and I'm not going to be controlled by you guys. But you're already controlled. Everybody's controlled by the laws of nature. You had no control over whether you were going to be born or not. See? Maybe you didn't want to be born. I'm not going to be born. You were born anyway. I'm not going to grow up. You grow up. I'm not going to get old. You get old. I'm not going to die. You die. Everybody's controlled. So it's just some fantasy that we think that no one can control me. Everybody's controlled. The laws of nature, eternal time. Time is the controller of everybody. So there you go.
So,
well, Ruben, maybe we better end with a little Sankirtan.
Chanting, yeah, for sure. The story will stay in my head for a long time, or stay in my heart. Hopefully, this is very nice. Thank you for sharing this.
Yeah. When I first heard that story many years ago, it was so relatable to me, knowing my background.
Yeah.
Like, wow. So.
Yeah, I never hunted, but I did, I was about to take the hunter's license when I was in the military service. I could get it almost free of charge because I was in the, like a we call it hunter actually, hunter battalion. I guess. Yeah. It's trained as a sniper, so it kind of wouldn't be so hard, the shooting part, just the theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, let's chant and forget.
Anyway. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to do our regular mantra, Gauranga Haribol. I keep it very simple so everybody can easily chant along with us. Haribo.
Hari.
Oh, that's Sankirtan, we do it each week.
Yeah. And every day, every day ourselves, and every week for podcast.
Yeah, every week on the program and every day ourselves. Yeah. Well, that's very easy to do. And, we're talking about changing the heart, purifying the heart. This does it. That does that. So, don't think, I can't do all those things. What can you do? Do what you can do. Everybody can sit down for 5 minutes a day and chant Gauranga. If they want to, of course. Okay, everyone. So thank you so much for joining us. Ruben, thank you for hosting as always.
Yeah, thank you, Balakhilya. Thanks for sharing this again.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We will be back next week.
Will be, for sure.
All right, everybody, be careful out there. It's a dangerous world. Namaste, Haribol.
Haribol, namaste. Thank you, Balakhilya. So we hope this gave you some inspiration, something to think about, ponder, and move on from there. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you do like this and would like to get updates and information on the next podcast. And we now also have an email list, so check out breakingtrail.life to get email updates from us every week. Remember, stay true to yourself and dare to break trail.